Everyone, Jen back with another episode covering Star Wars Vader Dark Visions. This is going to be issue 3, Tall, Dark, and Handsome. And we're covering this all on ship log 0227. Our little sci-fi podcast area. But anyway, let's just hop into this one. So this is book 3 of the Dark Visions comic, issue 3. Now, out of the 5 stories, I feel like this is probably one of the most entertaining ones in essence of basically like rom-comness. I feel like probably best one in fighting and everything. I would have to give that to number 1 so far, but I would have to say this one on the romance side is very, very funny. Now with this one we have where there is a I don't think they really consider her a doctor. She's more of like a nurse. But she's the person that's supposed to have help the doctor like prep the room and clean up everything and stuff like that. So this is actually like one of the main ships that Darth Vader comes to. He's got his own quarters on it and some other stuff like that. So they have where his ship's coming aboard into it, and she is standing out behind a group of the stormtroopers, and she starts telling us things that she loves. She loves how all of everybody, whenever Darth Vader comes, they stand at ease. They stand in their lines that are so perfect, and all of this other stuff. Well, she can't stand not seeing him when he arrives there. She's got, I would say, a Charles Manson kind of thing going, fangirl, I guess, where they're like, oh, I'd love to have your babies and all this other stuff if you were to ever get out of prison and things like that. That's kind of what she's got. I mean, there's so many people that are actually scared of him and everything, and she's just kind of the one person that isn't really scared of him or anything. She's just kind of like, oh, hey, we could be like the best together. Well, so the doctor comes and finds her and grabs her and says, I asked you to clean the med room. Lord Vader is basically on his way, and you haven't done it yet. And this is basically going to make him look bad, on top of things like that. So she gives us like the first instance, I guess, of where she actually saw him at. She was trying to get some medical supplies and didn't see him as he was walking down the hallway that she was in. And she's got a cart, and obviously these hallways aren't very big. And as she was pushing the cart out, between the cart and her, there was too much room basically being taken up. And instead of doing that, he basically just used the force to shove the cart one way and shove her the other way so that he could just keep walking and didn't have to worry about anything being in his path. Now, this is kind of the first instance where this nurse lady chick is super fucking delusional, because she decides that whenever he used it, she felt all of the force inside of her, and so that must mean that he felt her heart. He knew that she liked him in some capacity, and that everything was going to be hunky-dory, a miracle. Now, she has these delusions, and I love where the art changes, because we go from this really nice cartoony comic art to the more painting-esque kind of art pieces. And we'll have it where it looks like it should be a scene from Beauty and the Beast, where Darth Vader is like Beast and this nurse is like Beauty. And she'll sit there and it'll be both of them staring madly into each other's eyes, because Vader has now found his beauty and what he wants and all this other stuff. And there's not really any getting around it because that's how it's going to be. His love for her and everything else, is already set. There's nothing else that's going to rewrite it or tell us something different. It's already preset in the clouds, so to speak, or I guess in the stars where they're at. But yeah, I mean, she just has this weird, like, kind of fetish thing with Darth Vader. Now, from there, she does go in and interrupts the thing, and we get our second little delusion that she provides to us, where Darth Vader kind of force chokes the doctor and throws him around the room like a rag doll, saying that he needs to get his medical room in order and everything else because of that, because of this girl. And the doctor kind of takes it out on her a little bit after Darth Vader leaves, saying, you don't need to get in his way. Basically, I'm only trying to protect you. You need to stop kind of living this weird fantasy, because I think he realizes that that's how she is, versus how she sees how she is in front of Darth Vader and everything. And just really can't tell the difference. I mean, that's one of the big things I feel like with this, that she is not getting at all. She doesn't understand it. She doesn't know that, hey, getting in Darth Vader's face a little bit is not a smart move. There are very, very many people that have died for better reasons than just getting in his way, and that could be one of the casualties she faces. And I think the doctor sees this and knows that, because even though Darth Vader will throw him around and whatnot, I think knowing that he's probably the only doctor on the ship gives him a little bit more value to his life with Darth Vader than anybody else there. I mean, you could kill one stormtrooper and obviously there's like another one of 99 left to go. It just depends on the unit size. And, what's killing a few people, really. Because I feel like with Darth Vader, Rebels and the Alliance are both basically the same. It's just the amount of people he has to kill with a good reason. And I think that's a big thing with Darth Vader. So, but anyway, back to this nurse. We do see where she's got this kind of weird preset thing. I'm thinking, oh my God, Darth Vader completely saved me. It wasn't the reason why he didn't use the Force on her or anything, was because he knew that the doctor was in the wrong for this. He knew that Darth Vader knew that the doctor should have let her in there with him and should have let all this other stuff happen, which is what she doesn't really see. None of that stuff is really good, and it's not exactly on a level that I think she understands that, hey, this is kind of her chance that he's messing with the doctor and not killing her. But that's not how she sees it. She sees it as Darth Vader knows about the love between him and I, and he's being virtuous by hurting the doctor in her stead. So we just kind of get this weird part. I mean, she is one of the weirdest characters, I feel like, in stories like this, because she does have that kind of weird, I can't remember, the syndrome where you fall in love with your kidnapper. That's kind of what it is, and even though it's not like her kidnapper. It's really more so the guy that is committing these atrocities and everything across the universe. And the other people are scared of him, and yet she, I guess her fear is placed more on the side of love when it comes down to this stuff. So that's kind of what we get out of this one, I believe. But stay tuned, we're going to take a little break. Hey everyone, and we are back with Ship Log 0227, covering issue 3 of Star Wars Vader Dark Visions. So jumping back into this, the main part of this one, for the story, it's called Tall, Dark, and Handsome. And we are having this nurse lady girl kind of live like the Charles Manson daydream fangirl of wanting to be everything and a lover for Darth Vader. Now, obviously, we don't know where that's going, at least in her head, because obviously Darth Vader, as Anakin Skywalker, had a love once before, and now what we're experiencing is that there's obviously nothing there at all, and this girl can't seem to get it through her head, this nurse. So hopping back into it, she rationalizes anything that could happen to her as not for different reasons, which make it really odd in this series, that she is just not really recognizing the danger. Like, it's all just kind of shut off with her. Now, out of this, we have gotten a couple scenes of delusion that we've already covered. Now, here's another thing, is that she has a box of trinkets that she's gotten that were cleaned up from Darth Vader. One of them is like a vial of blood. One of them is, I think, one of the little wires, maybe, or something like that, maybe from one of his limbs. The rods that work as like pistons and everything in his artificial limbs. I think maybe that was one of the ones that she had. A sliver of metal that came out of something, like maybe looked like an arrow tip, or could have come off of like an explosion from something hitting that and it going into his arm or something like that, or into his chest. And then having just a couple like other things. But she has this box of mementos and is adding to it. So this is like her 5th little thing from the operation room that she has. And she just loves them. Like, it's all little gifts that he leaves behind for her, which is yet more delusion that we have with this character. And I think the title of this one really catches that. It being called Tall, Dark, and Handsome. Darth Vader is tall. Obviously, Darth Vader's armor is dark. And she is seeing everything about him as this delusion of him being handsome. Now, for all of us that have watched Star Wars and stuff before and kind of know what's under the Darth Vader mask, we kind of all know that Darth Vader is not anything that probably anybody wants to touch or love, just because they have made him to be this monster, to kind of be like a burn victim, and yet at the same time, like, just a monster because he's like purple and blue and different dark shades of color and gray. I mean, it's almost like his flesh is all dyed, but it's not exactly, or that he's been working in a coal mine for a while. That's kind of what we get out of all this stuff. But we do know that Darth Vader does come to this spot on the ship almost after every mission to get himself healed up and everything else. Which makes sense. Makes sense that he would want to always keep himself in as much tip-top shape as he could. Now, from here, we have another instance where he comes in, and she makes it back early there as well, which again is told, hey, you need to, like, get out of here and leave this stuff alone or whatever. And this time we have a little more happen, and Darth Vader kind of force pushes everybody away from him here and storms out, and he's like, I don't have any time. I have to get back to the battlefield. If you haven't done what you need to do, that's it. I'm going to basically get changed or take a little rest and then back to the action, as he usually always is. Now, in this instance, because they didn't get into it or whatever, he did forget his cape. And this is the one that kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back, because the girl finds it and has this delusion on, well, the reason why it's still here is because Darth Vader wanted to leave it for me. He wanted me to have it as a token of his love, and is just basically waiting for us to be able to be alone and everything else. Which I just have to say, I'm very glad that the subject of this is just focused on the love. I would say it's almost like the Beauty and the Beast stuff when it comes down to it, because people like us that like Star Wars and know what's under the mask kind of know a little too much, I would say. And I'm glad that she doesn't have a line where she ever says, like, hey, I wish he would ravish me, or something like that. Because that would just seem really, really disgusting, honestly, just with how Darth Vader is. It's stuff that I really feel like is probably a big problem with this stuff. Now, we also have this where she takes the cloak back and she goes back to her room and is hugging it and playing with it and has her box sitting out of other mementos, and the doctor catches her and says, oh, hey, what are you doing? And her still living this Beauty and the Beast, cherishing books and memento kind of thing. That's another thing there too. We're super glad that Belle never actually says that about Beast either, because that's a weird thing to think about. Okay, right? But when we cover the stuff, finding out of her love for Darth Vader, and then this doctor finding out and taking all of it, this right here is really what sets her off. She goes from basically having this weird thing consume her and it just kind of being hidden in the background, as it has been for Lord knows how long, the past 6 months or however many times that pieces have been taken off of him and she's kept. This also shows more of how she's basically cracked with her delusion, and she has went from wanting him and kind of being glad about it on the sidelines to now, this is it. Full throttle, I have to go see him. I have to make him mine and kind of go from there. Which we edge into this a little more, which gets a little more weirder. But she heads off after the doctor takes the stuff, and she says, I'm just going to go confess my love to Darth Vader. I'm going straight to his quarters. He never locks them, so we don't have to worry about that. And she walks in to there, and there's kind of this big black egg-looking thing in the middle, which is where he is at. And he, sleeps setting up with all of his uniform and outfit in this. It's probably just extra protection, until it's open. But the thing comes open with her, And there he is in all of his unarmored glory, this purple gray husk of a man, laying there. And we kind of get the split doubt from her saying, I didn't know he looked like that. You know, I've always imagined him to look a little different, the way that I guess he's carried himself. And she still decides that it doesn't matter. You know, love will go with anything. And basically tells him, you know, oh, Darth Vader, even though whatever state you're in right now, you're still like the most beautiful man I've ever seen. And all this other stuff. And as she continues to talk, finally she is stopped dead in her tracks because Darth Vader didn't care. And he put his lightsaber up, and basically when he turned it on, the beam of the sword goes right through her chest and out of her back, and thus completely incinerates like her heart, and she falls to the ground, automatically dead. No time for last goodbyes or anything. But we do get that part. Like, as I said, we get that part where Darth Vader gives no shits. I mean, Darth Vader is done with anything else. The mission at hand, and I think the Emperor is really the only person that even can talk to him. Because everybody else is just an obstacle, basically. And he calls over on the comms and says, hey, come pick up this trash that is in my living quarters, basically. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a sad part for that, is right up here at the very end when she was going to confess her love and everything, we end the chapter with him basically killing her off. So this tall, dark, and handsome facade is what allured her to him, and obviously was the downfall for her. I would say that this is almost like a Joker Harley Quinn moment, except at least Harley Quinn could get on Joker's level. This poor girl in this issue obviously couldn't get a hold of that. So anyway, though, hopefully we have a little more entertainment in our last two issues after this one, and just so we can go from there and really learn what else is going on and what else Darth Vader and these other side tales pertain to, because obviously in some of these no shits will be given, especially in this one. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening. I will catch you on the next exciting episode. Now stay tuned for more, and as always, see you next Tuesday.